Now, this will come as a huge embarrassment for Air India and the administration. It's come to light that paintings by eminent artists like M.F. Hussain, Jatin Das, amongst others, have gone missing from Air India. And hear this, it could all be worth a whopping 200 crores. Now, the paintings went missing from the headquarters at Nariman Point in Mumbai and may have reached the open market. Entire collection of paintings was valued at about rupees 200 crores. Still no clarity whether the entire 200 crores of art has disappeared from the headquarters of Air India. The shocking oversight by Air India officials came to light when the Aviation Ministry began an assessment of the airline's assets in view of its privatization in the near future. The paintings were stored in a hall in the Air India building, and the idea was in fact to start a museum on the ground floor. The matter came to light after painter Jatin Das was contacted for a painting he had made for Indian Airlines for verification prior to sale. So clearly, art that was meant for Air India somewhere down the line has reached the open market. Still no clarity whether or not this art which has disappeared from the headquarters of Air India is worth a whopping, here at 200 crores. What we do know is Air India has now ordered a probe.
Yeah, shocked and pain, but then I've been hearing from many sources about other institutions. It's not just Air India pouncing because Air India at the moment is going through this problem. But as I said earlier, that all these institutions were real patrons of art before. You know, no Air India person has come to see or buy my painting in 30 years. Who is concerned if it's there, if it's damaged, if it's destroyed? I was also told some time ago, the Lalit Kala collection, also many paintings are missing. You see, there has to be love and care for it, and the custodians of these institutions should preserve them for posterity.
Well, see, everyone knows Air India is probably the only airline, in India at least, which has a very good collection of paintings. And in the turnaround plan, when the assets were being monetized, that directive was there. This process was restarted to see where the paintings are and, have an inventory and collect them. So if this thing has come to light, it will be investigated, obviously. It's very sad that some paintings are gone missing. At least one complaint is there at least, so I'm sure it will be investigated and they'll find out.
So one thing is the fact that paintings have gone missing. The figure is debatable. Is it 200 crores? We don't quite know yet. But one thing is clear, that public wealth has been plundered, pilfered. The questions that we ask in this broadcast today, can paintings, what 200 crores is what we're getting to know, disappear without the connivance of Air India top officials? Is it even possible? If paintings were catalogued and the process we are told started way back in 2011, why delay in accounting? Why no figure released yet? Now, is the loot figure with what we're getting about 200 crores, is it exaggerated somewhere? Can whatever has been pilfered be way lesser than the figure that we're getting of 200 crores? And did former civil aviation ministers and bureaucrats actually pilfer the art which belonged to Air India? All right, joining me right now at 6 p.m. broadcast is Jatin Das, Indian painter and sculptor. He says that his artwork, which he had done for Indian Airlines, had actually reached the open market. In the studio with me is Rahul Srivastav, National Affairs Editor. Getting us the latest from Air India is my colleague Polumi Saha. And also joining us is the former Director of Air India, Mr. Bhargava, Jitendra Bhargava. Before I go to any of our guests, what does Air India actually have to say? And Polumi, I'd like to come to you on that, because they've said that an audit is in place since March. It's already July. We've heard absolutely no word.
Well, yes, they say that they started this process of creating an inventory of sorts, which will include the classification and digitization, proper storage, various details being put together for all the artifacts that are present inside the erstwhile Air India Museum, which will be in fact opened to the public with a new Air India Art and Craft Museum later this year. They are cataloguing right now. They started the process in March 2016 and by September 2017, they will complete that process process after which this Art and Crafts Museum, which earlier we had heard reports about having been put on the back burner because of the decision to privatize Air India, is apparently going to be open to the public. At that time, will they be able to give us a clear inventory of all of these paintings that were in fact given to Air India at some level or the other, some commissioned, some as gifts, etc., by various eminent artists, painters, sculptors, all of these artifacts over the last 60 odd years? Will Air India be able to give us those various details? That remains to be seen. For the process, for the moment, of course, Preeti, they are telling us that they're at the moment cataloguing.
All right. So, Rahul, let me come to you on this. So, they're still cataloguing. They started this process of accounting in March. What is the current status? Because even if we look at the entire art wealth, including artifacts, it could go into thousands crores and no account of that.
Preeti, one wonders, why does Air India need to carry out this regular cataloguing and regular auditing? Because we know very clearly that the CMD of Air India in 2011 ordered that there should be cataloguing. And it was not an ordinary cataloguing exercise. A team of art experts, curators and others was put together to ascertain what exactly is the treasure trove all about. So paintings, artifacts from Germany and several other countries was assessed by not ordinary people but experts at conservation and curation. And after their assessment, it was assessed that roughly the value of this could well be 200 crores at that time. It was not some Air India official who sat down, a clerk sat down who said it is 200 crores. It was art experts who said this. And after a certain amount of work, it was decided that these paintings will be, and artifacts will be put in a ground floor museum of Air India.
Right.
Very interesting beyond that is also that this is not all Air India has. There were two paintings inside the CMD's office, and guess who? M.F. Hussein's.
Right.
There is a painting of a horse, famous horse painting, which hangs in the Singapore office of Air India.
Right.
In the Canada offices, there are M.F. Hussein's and Jatin Das's hanging. Air India has been so beleaguered as far as cash is concerned that Air India has not been able to bring those paintings here and get them properly assessed. Air India merger, Indian Airlines merger also happened. People like Jatin Das were given complimentary tickets because they were commissioned painting. It was like the Maharaja was creating an empire and had love for art, like a corporate house. Where were those paintings? Where is the inventory? Eventually, the first time it happened was in 2011. Now, if inventory was created in 2011, cataloguing was done, curator work was done, then why does Air India suddenly come up with the fact that in March 2016, it's doing an audit exercise all over again? In this whole statement, there is a huge silence on if there was a catalogue available in 2011-12. Why can't Air India tell us how many of them are there today? You can audit it, find out what's the status and others and the value of those paintings. But they can at least tell the country what is the status of the hundreds of the artifacts.
It's just bizarre because the first audit or the first catalogue that took place is in 2011 when the barter system between artists and Air India actually goes way back to 1940s. I want to connect, I believe Jatin Das wants to come in right now. He's, flagged the story as well. Where Jatin, yes, go ahead.
Yes, I want to clarify a few things. That I was commissioned by Air India, this particular painting I'm talking about, in 1991. And this was hanging at the VIP lounge of Air India, at the International Air India lounge, which I had seen once as I was going out of the country. But we were mixing up two things, that this painting in question, I was commissioned by Air India.
All right, so not
Indian Airlines had commissioned me 6 paintings in 1986. This painting had nothing to do with Indian Airlines. They had commissioned me 6 paintings which was reproduced in the form of a calendar, and this was the time of Mr. Sunil Arora. And Mr. Sunil Arora, they are talking of the inventory and looking into the collection. 2003, Mr. Sunil Arora, I had approached because I'm doing an art center in Bhubaneswar, for which we had a conference, and I requested him for 40 tickets for our delegates, which kindly prompted and meaning give the delegates the tickets. But he said with one condition, that you become the honorary art advisor to Air India. And so the process started in 2004 of inventory, cataloguing, etc., which I had suggested. Then the next chairman of Air India wrote me a 2-line letter that your services are not required.
Right.
I'm not an employee of Air India. I was an honorary art advisor with a request from the chairman. So there's a, and now I have decided I will not be an advisor to anybody, any more honorary advisor, because people don't respect. So there are two issues we are mixing up.
All right, so Jatin, let's talk about
this particular painting, which is in the marketplace.
Right.
Come to me for
Jatin, let's talk about this particular painting that you mentioned, which is for Air India, not Indian Airlines, commissioned in the 90s, was hanging at the Airport International Lounge and then disappeared. And then somebody 10 years later contacts you to actually verify that artwork. So it's reached the open market from the Air India Lounge, the International Air India Lounge.
That's right. In Delhi. And then I had forgot about it. Then suddenly this lady called Pooja Acharya, young lady, an artist, whom I know, I think she lives abroad. And she sent me an email out of the blue saying that I want you to authenticate. I said, what is the provenance? What is the painting? Can you send me an image? Who bought it? Etc. So when she sent the image, I was shocked. This is the same painting that I was with Air India. And this is how I wrote a letter to the chairman of Air India, not mentioning about this. I said, can you send me the list of my works with all professional details and what are the paintings you have of mine? Because I grew up in Mumbai, so I knew J.D. Tata, Bobby Cooker, Jal Kawasji, etc. They were lover of art. And they used to come, you see, Air India, Taj Hotel and Atomic Energy Commission of Bhava Institute, they were people who were lover of art. After a chairman's meeting, they will not go for lunch. They will come and see an exhibition. And every exhibition they visited, they bought a painting. So that was the kind of association we had. And if we had an exhibition abroad, they will give free tickets and transport the paintings free. And they were very, very...
So, Jatin, one thing has been established, that a painting which you did for Air India, it was supposed to be the property of Air India, has somewhere down the line reached the open market. Now, it could be just one example, Rahul, of many paintings that we absolutely have no account for right now.
Yes, that's what, Preeti, is the real crisis. Why is Air India, it's been almost 24 hours, silent that it can say in a yes or no whether the rest of the paintings are there. It's now everything should be on computer. 2001, every cataloging, all the cataloging should be in the computer. All you have to do is click a button and see how many of them are there. What is also interesting, Preeti, over the years, if paintings by eminent artists like Jatin Das and M.F. Hussain are part of the assets of Air India, why has it never been reflected in the balance sheets of Air India? This is a huge asset. How can Air India keep it away from the assets?
And thousands of crores when you're bleeding like the way you are.
And now is a very interesting point, is that Air India is on the verge of disinvestment. Now, what the plan is, we know, is that 20,000 crore worth is the worth of Air India's aircraft fleet. 6,000 crore is the rest of the assets like land and others. What the government sources are telling us, that they are going to hive them off, form a separate entity, sell them off so that the government can earn some money, because the government has to write off the bad debts that Air India has built up over the last 2 years.
Accountability needs to be fixed because this is pilferage of public wealth.
So why is it that it was never part of Air India's balance sheets? This is an asset. Which corporate house does this, that it has got an M.F. Hussain and it is not part of its asset list?
And who's responsible? Accountability needs to be fixed. And we have Jitendra Bhargava, the former executive director of Air India. Mr. Bhargava, we were just talking earlier, and where do you reckon, where could have this art disappeared? Paintings completely gone. Jatin just told us that his artwork was hanging at the International Lounge where, say, in Delhi, disappeared, and then 10 years later somebody approaches him to verify that artwork. Now, there are conspiracy theories which are abound. Would you suggest that bureaucrats, civil aviation ministers, former civil aviation ministers could have a hand in this pilferage as well?
I'm not privy to this information, but I would strongly recommend that yes, it may be worthwhile for Air India management to look at the past records, that yes, if they were given to somebody outside of Air India, be it for display in the ministry or in the offices, etc., whether they have taken back after the incumbent officer ceased to be there. Now, this is for Air India management to really check the records, but it will be a sad thing if we find that yes, they were loaned, but not taken back. So therefore, it will be in the interest of Air India itself to have a reality check and see whether they were taken back. And if they were indeed put back in Air India's records, then of course the chapter closes.
Yeah, but but that needs to be put out there, Mr. Bhargava. Now, even something like that, how can it actually, take place without the connivance of Air India officials?
I wouldn't dispute it. But first thing is, when a figure of 200 crores is put, it's looked like as a major scam or major pilferage exercise that's happened. So if the scale is, say, 1/100th of what the figure is, then it's a totally thing, and I wouldn't dispute it. Yes, if there is apathy, if there is negligence on the part, Air India management needs to look into and said, all right, if something has been misplaced, something has been lost, we need to hold people accountable, and also to plug any loophole that exists, because Air India's paintings that we have is a huge treasure house, dates back to the decade of the 1950s, 60s, when young budding artists who later became celebrated artists came to Air India for a ticket to go abroad to expose their paintings in international art galleries, and Air India obliged them. In return, got paintings from these artists. Now, you're never be able to replace these art.
All right, Jatin wants to come in. Yes, Jatin.
That's right. No, I want to tell you something else. Everybody, every television program, etc., that I have had regarding this, everybody is putting a money figure to painting. I think it's very sad. There's a value of work of art. Those are kept, those are collected with public money for posterity, for future generation. Let's not equate. I mean, somebody asked me, what is the price of your painting? I think it's a very vulgar question. Painting is not equated with money. And in the present state in the country, we're talking, I mean, everything with a tag of money.
But Jatin, it's essential right now where we're actually going to look at the worth of Air India. And I'm sorry I'm coming in. When we talk about, yes, it's an artistic way to look at it, that one shouldn't put a price on art. But when it comes down to Air India, it would be prudent to put that price and put it out in public domain, because it works for India, Rahul.
You see, it's basically that a Maharaja is almost dead and the family silver is being sold off now. But this entity has incurred a debt of 52,000 crore.
Yes.
The losses are 30,000 crores. Every day when the Maharaja flies out, it comes back with a story of losses. I'm sorry, yes, definitely it's a very sad story, as Mr. Das is saying. These were great artists. The people from the Bombay Progressive School, M.F. Hussain, he was a legend in 1991 and Mr. Das was a legend in 1991. These were not budding artists at that time. These are great work of art. Any other place, it would have helped with a sense of pride. It would have been part of evaluation. This is what I'll ask Mr. Bhargava also. That when he was the chairman heading Air India, at that time, did they take stock? Did they start a museum? What did they do with the paintings at that time? Because I hear they were lying in some decrepit corner of the Air India buildings.
Nobody quite knows what went down. And Mr. Bhargava, we're actually closing in this debate. Don't you reckon, what is the order of the day? Time for a full investigation by an external body to be carried out and not Air India, because clearly it's not done his job.
You see, the first point is, I'm not going on the speculation or media reports. Air India investigation must take place. If it is established that some pieces of paintings, artifacts are missing, to find out who is responsible. And fixing accountability, by all means punish them, and to take future safeguards that there should be not an iota of doubt in anybody's mind that there is a possibility of somebody taking away, or any of these paintings, etc., getting lost.
So fix accountability.
It is simply too precious as an asset for Air India.
Right. Jatin Das, I give the final word to you. What do you think?
I just want to tell you one thing for a second. I just want to tell. No, that is all fine. I was, as I mentioned, I was commissioned 6 painting by Indian Airlines in '86.
Yes.
And they were lying in the godown. I talked to Mr. Madhav Rao Scindia once, inquiring about the painting. They were retrieved from a godown with furniture. Now, what I'm saying is, when the merger took place, when the merger took place between Indian Airlines and Air India, this 6 painting must have also come to Air India. Where are these 6 paintings?
So there's no account of your 6 paintings.
By 4 feet. And they are all flying figures done in oils.
So no,
I have no idea. No, I'm not doubting. I'm saying, where are those 6 paintings also?
All right. Rahul, Very quickly, yes, and then
I'll make a very quick point.
Yes, quick point.
You see, Air India has to do it fast. It can't take 48 hours or 500 hours because, as Mr. Das said, that the lady who was asking for the authentication of the painting was calling from somewhere abroad.
Right.
It is possible the painting has crossed the seas. Means if there are more gone, it will become more difficult.
And nobody quite knows how many paintings have crossed the sea.
And where they have gone.
Yeah, and where they have gone. We're going to continue tracking the story very closely. My colleague Palumi Saha is getting us the very latest from Air India. Thank you, Rahul, for joining us. Thank you, Mr. Das. Thank you, Mr. Bhargava, gentlemen.